Alright, so here we go again. Today I want to have a quick look with you at a little part which I just recorded, and I want to get a bit into detail with how to decide which little snippets of a recorded part you want to take onto the record and which you want to replace. So, first things first. Before I record a part, I mostly write it down in Guitar Pro. So I want to show you the section in Guitar Pro. Here we are. And that's always the way I work. I write stuff and I instantly write it down so I can change things and hear things in context. And after that, I export them in the crappy Guitar Pro sound and put them into my DAW to see how they sound in context of the whole song or of the whole section. So the little part I want to talk about today sounds like this. One more time. So it's pretty simple. I had a bit of an Iron Maiden feel when writing that part. And to put it a bit into context, I'll switch back to my Studio One. And what you can see here below are the exported files from Guitar Pro. So you hear it's a nice little two-voiced lead. And in context of the song, this was a part of a finale build-up, and it's starting around here with some mellow acoustic guitars and vocals, and it's building up to another acoustic part. And then we're moving on to a part from the intro which I modulated and changed up some harmonies and put it in a different context. And that's building up again to the section we want to take a look at now. And this section was originally also meant to have vocals on it, but there's 3 parts before that which already have a lot of singing, and then there is like a vocal finale over here which will lead into a guitar solo and later in the chorus. And when I was writing the vocals, I realized that it's just too much and that the listener could need a little breather here, and I decided to switch back to the guitars carrying the melody, and that's what I just played to you. Again, the whole part. As you can hear next, it's got almost a bit of a power metal vibe. It's pretty straightforward. It's in 4/4, and I had a little bit of probably a Blind Guardian feeling, and I came up with that nice little melody which reminded me a bit of Iron Maiden. And we're moving over to the part which I just recorded, which is one voice of the melody that I just played to you. And I haven't heard it yet, so it's also new for me, and I'm curious to find out in which way I messed up this time. A little bit of info on sound. I'm usually demoing my lead guitars with the Archetype Plini, and I found a preset somewhere which was a bit referencing John Petrucci's lead guitar sound, and I really like that one. Not to put it on the album, and for demoing and recording stuff it works pretty nicely. So let's listen together, and what we're gonna hear now is the last take of the recording. Let's listen to it solo. Okay, and actually I like that pretty much. The ending is a bit off rhythmically and also not picked clean enough. So what I want to show you is how I deal with these things, how I edit it, and how I decide which parts to keep and which parts to change. So we're moving down. These are all the recorded takes, and there's pretty many of them, especially if you consider that it was a pretty simple part. But that's often how I work. I learn the part and already record it, because sometimes it happens that you come up with the first take, or sometimes it's somewhere in between the learning process that nice things happen. And so I started to build up that routine of just recording everything already when I'm learning the part, but it results in yeah, lots of different takes. So listen to it again and find out which parts to replace and which to keep. Okay, so far I'm listening to the vibrato, I'm listening to the timing, I'm listening to the pick attack, and I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, there's probably one note which I might replace because I'm not that much of a fan of the vibrato. It's already here, that second longer note. The vibrato seems to be a bit wide for me. And I'm browsing through it to just find a different take which sounds better. And there we got it already. But I'll keep browsing. And that's nice. The pitch of the note is nice, and it's got a very subtle vibrato, which I think is fitting here, because there will be another guitar adding a second voice, and if you put too much vibrato on certain notes, it sounds wobbly when putting them both on top of each other. Okay, that's pretty nice. And then I discovered something else over here. I'm not sure if I like that scratchy sound in the slide. So again, I'm looking for something different. Maybe the next note also. And sometimes you got to move back and forth a bit to find out that you actually want to keep the note that you didn't like in first place, but you find something different to replace. So we've got everything together besides the ending, and you can clearly see that the timing was just off and I started picking too early. So I'm looking for a different take. Yeah, and sometimes it's pretty simple because it's already visual when you're looking at the waveforms, and these notes look nice and fat. The timing is pretty well. Then I'm listening again to the pick attack. Here the first note is a bit off, but it sounds better in terms of picking. But I just keep browsing through. Not too bad. Maybe combine them. And that's okay. I mean, it's just simple 4 notes. Don't want to spend too much time with these sorts of decisions. So we're moving up to the actual track and see what we piece together. It sounds like this. And then I start editing the part, which consists of several steps which are a bit boring and always the same. I'm slip editing, moving stuff around. I'm looking for a nice transient leading into the note, listening carefully to the sound or the scratchiness of the pick. And then I'm moving through the part, note by note. make tiny adjustments. I've got a macroed crossfade here, which is very, very small and subtle. And I prefer that to wider crossfades. Don't ask me why. It's just a bit of experience gained. And then again, I like all those melody parts and lead parts to be pretty spot on in terms of the timing. So usually I'm moving it around a bit, but I'm also very sensitive that the basic material I'm working with was played well. So I don't want to fake anything. I just want to optimize it a little bit. Then what I tend to do is look in detail at the waveforms again to make sure that I'm not having any phase inversions. That's okay. Sometimes I'm taking the ending of the other part. Sometimes that works out well. Here it's a bit hard for me to find a good way to transition. Something like this might work, but why not choose to go here? I can be very picky with these details. And then I'm moving on. Here we've got a bit of a problem. That note here is coming in too early. That one as well. So I'm moving it over here. And then I'm trying to find a way to merge these notes. And again, looking for the phases to fit. This might work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, and you gotta listen again, careful. And that didn't work too well. I'm hearing like an interruption here. And sometimes you can deal with this by just making the crossfade part wider. In this case, I'm wondering if it's necessary at all, so I'm undoing this. Wonder what happens now. No, that's not working again. These are two ways of dealing with it, and if none of this works, I'm doing something different. Moving here. I'm just using the audio bend tool, setting it to the beginning of the note. Probably put an ending here, and then just, that doesn't work. I just gotta make sure to keep it fixed here at the beginning of the next note, and then I'm just moving it over, and again, listen if I can get away with that. That's okay. What I'm listening for is how the time stretch affects the vibrato, and sometimes it makes it sound a bit fake or a bit off, but in that case I think it's okay. So I'm moving on. And I'm going to skip a bit on the remaining editing because it's a bit repetitive and boring, and we're gonna see what we end up with when I'm done. And here is another little interesting detail. Sometimes you gotta stretch the notes, but sometimes you've gotta squeeze them a bit because you see this one is a bit too long and I wanna get that part of the ending as well. Squeeze it, put the other one on top. Maybe like this. Again, look at the faces and listen to it. Nice. And then we're coming to the ending and I'm having to do the same thing again. Maybe here. And I got to be very sensitive here because this is a long note and the vibrato is important and you can hear it pretty clearly in the mix, I guess, later on. So I'm doing the same and listen to it, how it affects the vibrato that I've stretched that note. I guess it's okay. It's the first part of the note, there is no vibrato. I just let it ring, and then towards the end, from here, there's a bit of vibrato, but I guess, again, that's okay. Then we've got the remaining 4 notes. That it's always important to keep that part before the note starts, because this is where the pick attack is happening, and it's an important part of the sound, or of the note sounding real. Because that's what happens when you play, you're losing time between the notes, and you don't want to cut that out. I could do that, but it would sound fake, and I don't want that. I want to keep it as natural as possible. And the last one, it's almost perfect. I'm keeping that. Not sure about the timing though. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm throwing out the Guitar Pro track and listen to the whole thing. Just keep the second voice of Guitar Pro muted here. I'll put it on later. But first of all, let's check this. Nice. Bit of context. And you're hearing again the Guitar Pro voice, which sounds pretty horrible. So I'll leave that out. Too much of the song yet. So that's it for now. A little bit of melody editing, a little insight into one part of a song, which I think will turn out pretty nicely. I really like it. It's not that long compared to the other ones I wrote. It's around 8 minutes. And I've always got that goal of keeping a song below the 6-minute mark. And with that album, I really only succeeded with the last song I wrote. And the longest one is almost 24 minutes. There's another song, 14-15 minutes. And lots of stuff in between. So guys, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of this journey, and see you next time. Bye.